Our top focus this morning is on the G20 summit that will begin today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi began his second day in Brisbane with an informal meeting with leaders of BRICS nations. During the meeting, Modi reiterated that black money stashed in international banks was a key issue for India. He also said that unaccounted money abroad is linked to security challenges, implying that it can easily be used to fund global terror. Let's get in a word from TV Today's managing editor Rahul Kamal, who's with us live from Brisbane this morning. Rahul, Narendra Modi started his day with a meeting with the leaders of BRICS nations, once again reiterating how important the issue of black money is for India, also trying to make other leaders understand how this is something that is a key concern for international players as well, considering that unaccounted money can be used to fund global terror.
Absolutely, Simi, and it's interesting because so far the Prime Minister has been criticized for not moving fast enough on black money, of making tall election promises but not being able to translate those into concrete action. So he's using the forum of the G20 to now make those demands, to press ahead on black money. And what we've understood from our sources in the Ministry of External Affairs is that the Prime Minister is essentially trying to mobilize global opinion for a global convention against black money, which is to be ratified by 2017-2018. So far, there's an agreement that's been in the pipeline, but it's not moving fast enough. What Modi is trying to do is build a global consensus. What this agreement will essentially allow is for income tax authorities in various countries to be able to ask for specific information about specific bank accounts anywhere in the globe. So far, that hasn't been allowed, and that's been a big bugbear with income tax authorities because they don't find out in real time about information of dubious bank accounts elsewhere. You can have such an agreement, but it needs to happen bilaterally. So you need to sign 190 odd such bilateral agreements. What Modi is pushing for, there's already a fair amount of global work that's happened on this, is for a global convention against black money. That is on the horizon in 2017-2018. The Prime Minister is trying to ensure A, the timelines don't lapse, they don't get delayed. Some of these treaties can take forever to try and negotiate and roll out. The Prime Minister is trying to ensure that in this particular instance a global consensus is built, which is why whenever he speaks and wherever he speaks, he's putting the issue of black money front and center stage.
Rahul, you taking us through the expectations from Prime Minister Modi and what he wants on the table as far as India is concerned.
Just for a moment, can show you the lovely sights and sounds of Brisbane. Very quaint, much smaller than Sydney and Melbourne. And this is a city that the Australian government, just step down just for a moment, is trying to promote. And that's why this G20 is being organized here in Brisbane. We've got a whole bunch of Indians very excited about the fact that the Prime Minister is in their city, joining us this morning at Mount Kunta. Good morning to all of you. Welcome to Headlines Today. So you must be happy. Are you happy about the fact that the Prime Minister is here? What are you expecting the Prime Minister to deliver and say while he's in Brisbane?
Absolutely. First of all, good morning to all your viewers, and it's a moment of great pride as well as pleasure that after 28 years we have an Indian Prime Minister on Australian shows. So it's a moment of great excitement, and as you can see, there's a buzz of excitement and most importantly hope. So what we would like to achieve from this visit from Narendra Modi ji is that some issues on economic as well as education, like there are a lot of research universities in Australia, and if they could be better funded in terms of Indian students could be better funded in terms of better scholarships as they have in America as well as in Europe. So I think that would be the key takeaway which most of the Indian students would appreciate. Apart from that, I think terrorism is another issue where India and Australia can jointly work on, because as you could see that ISIS is growing by leaps and bounds. So we need a concreted effort from both Indian and Australian governments, as India is a vector of terrorism.
Okay. Of all the people that we have here at Mount Kunta, the one most excited probably is you. You've been just jumping around with excitement and joy with the fact that the Prime Minister is here. What are you expecting that the Prime Minister will be able to achieve?
Well, I'm very, very keen to see our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji going back with free trade talks with India and Australia and leading the expatriate programs, getting our skill set from India over here overseas. They're getting all the exposure to the international world, particularly in the LNG and the resources industry, and then taking it back to India and making that Sone ki Chidiya one more time. Particularly for women over here, I do feel that we do need to have programs where their skills, their life experiences are more embraced into vocational training for more job opportunities, leading to a very progressive modern Indian woman in Australia.
Will any of you be travelling from Brisbane to Sydney for the Prime Minister's speech? All of you are going. How's that? All of you are going?
Yeah.
All the way from Brisbane to Sydney to watch the Prime Minister?
Yes.
Okay, so he is doing a town hall style event here as well, isn't he?
Yep.
That's tomorrow in the afternoon. So he is doing a town hall style. Why do you need to go to Sydney then?
Sydney is something very significant to us because that's going to be a global, we are competing with the Madison Square here. So
Why are you competing?
This is a competition. The competition is good for everyone. So, and we want to show like people living outside India, NRIs you can call, students, they all are very positive about Modi ji's image, and we want to show how positive we are by showing them the numbers. So that's the competition we are having right now.
The one thing we have is numbers, whether we can fix the rest of it right or not, but we definitely got numbers on our side. How have things in Australia changed since the time the Prime Minister came? Amongst the people that you meet with in your community, the people that you work with, how is India perceived? And is it any different from the time when Modi wasn't around?
Yeah, definitely. Firstly, namaste to everyone watching. Ever since Modi ji has taken over as the Prime Minister, it has given a fresh new identity to India. And like I said before,
in what way?
In what way? India now has a voice that can be heard loud and clear across the world. I'm sure everyone here agrees that, and especially in a global stage, it has given us a new identity, and we're really excited to have Modi ji here, and I think something positive will come out of this G20.
While we have a lot of supporters of Prime Minister Modi, there's also one dissenter, a naysayer, who says she's not very impressed with Modi. What is it? While everybody else is so impressed and so happy, why is it that you are still on the fence or on the other side?
I don't say I'm not impressed. I see a lot of hype about Modi everywhere. Everybody's talking about him being on Twitter and tech savvy, and everybody just talking about Modi from, I think I've been hearing about him from last 1 year. But at the end, he has to show some results. Yeah, I heard he has started a few of the new initiatives, but really what I'm interested in is that what results he's going to come up with.
Okay. Do you think this is fair criticism, that there's a lot of hype about him being tech savvy, but there isn't enough results on the ground just yet?
Actually, this is too short to say. Like, Modi is been Prime Minister for like last 6-7 months. We can't expect a lot of things to happen in short period. It's a step-by-step process, and I believe in Modi, and definitely is going to make some difference to India and Indian community overseas.
Okay, what are the main problems in the India-Australia relationship? From the perspective of somebody, how long have you been in Australia?
Hello everyone, I'm here since last 10 years in Australia.
And what, according to you, are the major bugbears that you'd like to see Modi and Tony Abbott fix?
Especially I would like to request about the dual citizenship between India and Australia. I'm here since last 10 years and I have only got the OCA card, but I would like to have Australian citizenship as well as at the same time Indian citizenship. That will boost up the economy for India, and there are more advantages by having a dual citizenship.
Okay, and what are the specific issues that you would like to see Prime Minister Modi? Just come this way so we don't get the sun on the other side. What are the specific issues that you would like to see Prime Minister Modi and Tony Abbott try and resolve?
One thing is, look after the trade deals. Uranium deal, I think, in the past government didn't get through well, so hopefully that should be sorted out. And the other thing, there's a lot of coal resources in Australia, and also we require a lot of power in India. So probably this can be used as a nice meeting opportunity so that we can get coal over to India and also uranium deals, and then we can prosper. And the other thing is, in Australia, India is #2 country when it comes to the students. So there should be some scholarship opportunities for overseas students in here. So this might be a nice meeting. So
so how many of you came here as students? Yes, you came here as a student as well. So this whole issue of racism has been hyped at very heavily. But when I speak to people here, I feel that maybe they think that it was overdone, that racism isn't as big an issue as it would seem if you just watch on Indian television. As somebody who studied here, and for those who are watching back home, how much of a real issue do you think racism is?
No, I haven't really faced any racism here.
So I would say it's a bit, we can say it's just a hype which has created. It's not that much which we heard on our TVs and all. So it's a little bit is everywhere, but I haven't faced any racism, so I can't say this thing that racism is here.
You want to add to that?
Yes, the racism I think is there in every country. I don't think so Australia has much of racism at all. It's completely hyped up in the media back in India, because whenever people used to call me and ask me, is there any so much racism here, I would say no. I think that needs to stop, and that might affect Indian students to come here and get a higher education as well. They don't have to be scared of any racism in Australia.
Because if you would watch Indian TV at a certain time, you'd almost go back thinking that Indian students are really badly off, that they're being attacked and brutalized all the time, and they're very unsafe and they want to come back. So you're essentially suggesting that things weren't half as bad as they were made out to be.
No, what happened, a series of incidents happened in Melbourne in like 1 month's time, and it's been a bit overrated in media, I think so. Australian people are very friendly. I've been here from last 10 years, and racism is there everywhere, but I don't say that. I'll give you an example. Like, we had floods here in Brisbane in 2011, and so many people here, houses have been affected with so much, everyone contributed. Like, people who are not affected by the floods have gone and helped each and everyone, went in a queue and provided food and all that sort of stuff.
It's interesting, Simi, to see how while back home, and I think we're equally guilty of having done several such shows focusing on the issue of racism. Here the sense in Australia is that yes, those incidents did happen, but it's not as if things were quite as bad as they were made out to be, and there's several students who say that they've lived long enough and haven't had to face any racist attack at all. And the reality is there's racism in virtually every country, as there is in India. But the big story, Simi, this morning from my perspective is the fact that the free trade agreement of the WTO, which was agreed upon during the Bali round of the WTO, which had been stuck for the last several months, where India was being seen as the global villain in the piece, holding up the free trade agreement, that is now being resolved. We are told by the chief of the WTO that within the next 2 weeks, so in as little time as 2 weeks, one of the most important agreements which will liberalize the global customs regime, make it easier for countries to import and export products from each other, is going to be finalized and pushed through. This had been in the pipeline for several months, and because of India's concerns on food security, India had been vetoing this deal. Now, how these WTO rounds process is that all countries have to agree. There has to be consensus, and if there isn't, even one major country's refusal can block an entire deal. Now, the Prime Minister has worked with the American government, and this is the context in which Barack Obama said the other day in Myanmar, Mr. Modi, you're a man of action, because that deal, now details finally emerging, that deal is through, and that really is possibly the most significant takeaway from the Prime Minister's international sojourn this time.
Rahul, thanks so much for that update. TV Today's managing editor Rahul Kawal taking us through the big through issues that are likely to top Modi's agenda during the G20 summit. Also getting us reactions from Indians in Australia. Lots of excitement around Prime Minister Modi's visit to the country, the first by any Indian Prime Minister in 28 years. Everyone also looking forward to Monday's interaction, where Modi will be addressing a gathering of thousands in Sydney.